You ever wonder about your own weird habits? Or maybe the strange routines of the people you know? Well, it turns out our most puzzling behaviors, they're not random at all. They're actually part of a hidden language our brains use to navigate a very, very complicated world.
I mean, think about it. I bet you know someone who finds genuine, actual joy in organizing a closet, who feels this sense of calm from a spotless kitchen. And you probably also know someone who would rather do literally anything else than have people over, even people they really, really like.
Or what's the deal with that friend who cancels plans, not because they're mad at you, but because they genuinely recharge their batteries with a quiet night in, way more than a loud night out? These things seem like they're from different planets, right? Total opposites. Okay, but what if I told you these aren't character flaws? That being a clean freak or antisocial just isn't the real story? What if these habits are actually brilliant subconscious strategies our minds have cooked up to keep us safe?
So, here's the big idea we're going to unpack. Your habits are the language of your nervous system. Every little quirk, every routine, every preference, it's all a logical strategy. A strategy for managing chaos, for conserving your precious energy, and yeah, for protecting yourself from the pain of the past.
All right, let's dive into one of the biggest drivers of our habits, our brain's relationship with chaos and its deep, deep need for control.
Look, we live in a world that is fundamentally unpredictable. You've got pandemics, politics, even just traffic. It's all completely out of our hands. So when our brain feels that chaos on the outside, it desperately starts searching for something, anything it can control. And you know where it often finds it? In our immediate environment.
This all comes down to a really cool concept called cognitive load. Just think of it like your brain's computer memory. It's RAM. Every messy pile of mail, every disorganized closet, every single choice you have to make, it's like an app running in the background, just draining your mental battery. In fact, research from Princeton actually shows that physical clutter actively competes for your attention. It's not just a feeling. Your brain is literally working harder to filter out the mess, which you can actually measure in rising levels of your stress hormone, cortisol.
And this is where you start to see how totally different habits can all be solving the exact same problem. Loving to clean isn't about being a neat freak, it's about lowering that cognitive load so you can finally feel calm. Embracing minimalism, that's about reducing the number of questions your stuff asks you every day. Thriving on a strict routine, kind of like how Barack Obama famously wore the same suit, it's not boring, it's a powerful strategy to eliminate decision fatigue. And waking up at 5 a.m., for a lot of people, that's about grabbing a win, a moment of control before the unpredictable world starts knocking on the door.
This quote, wow, it just says it all, doesn't it? For a brain that's craving order, clutter isn't just a mess, it's a constant low-grade whisper of 1,000 tiny tasks that need doing. And that whisper is absolutely exhausting. Cleaning is how you finally silence that noise.
Now, controlling our physical space is one thing, but a lot of our most complex habits are all about managing our internal resources. So that brings us to our second big theme, the social energy economy. I want you to think of your social energy exactly like the battery on your phone that you have to manage every single day. You know, every social interaction, even a really fun one, it costs you something. You're reading micro-expressions, you're managing your tone, trying to remember names. It's work. And for some of us, that battery just drains much, much faster. This isn't about being antisocial, it's simply about having a different energy budget.
Okay, so there's this really cool idea called optimal arousal theory, and it explains this perfectly. It basically suggests that some nervous systems, what we might call introverts, are super sensitive to stimulation. They need very little of it to feel engaged and good. You know, a quiet room and a book might put them at their absolute peak. But for others, extroverts, their nervous system needs a lot more input to get to that same feel-good state. They thrive in a loud, crowded party. One isn't better than the other, they're just different operating systems, wired to need different amounts of data to feel their best.
And this right here, this explains a whole suite of habits. Preferring to be alone isn't loneliness, it's just plugging your phone into the charger. Hating small talk isn't being arrogant, it's your brain looking at a high-energy, low-reward conversation and saying, no thanks. Feeling closer to animals? Well, they offer connection without all the complex, draining subtext of human interaction. And avoiding crowds or hating to host? Those are just brilliant strategies to keep your battery from hitting zero.
This quote is so important. For a lot of people, home is the one place on earth where they don't have to perform. It's a sanctuary. The second guests come over, the stage lights click on, the mask goes back on, and the energy drain starts all over again. So protecting that space isn't selfish, it's essential for psychological survival.
Okay, for our final theme, we're going to go a little deeper. Because some habits aren't just about managing energy or control right now. They're about the past. They are, in a way, a form of hidden armor.
See, your nervous system is an incredible learning machine. It remembers what hurts you, betrayal, rejection, criticism, and it builds entire behaviors designed to make sure that that pain never, ever happens again, even if those behaviors look totally self-destructive from the outside.
One of its most powerful tools is pattern recognition. Your brain basically becomes a detective, constantly scanning new interactions for familiar clues of emotional danger. So, for example, if you grew up with a really critical parent, your brain might hear a new partner's helpful suggestion as an attack because the pattern feels threatening. It's always looking for that subtle shift in tone, the convenient excuses, all these patterns it learned from past relationships that ended in pain.
Let's just take a super common habit like being late. On the surface, the behavior seems simple, but as you can see here, the hidden psychology can be completely different. Over on the left, you've got the surface behavior, chronically late. But look at the possibilities on the right. You might have the magical thinker, who just suffers from the planning fallacy and genuinely thinks they can get more done than is humanly possible. Or you could have the secret dreader, whose subconscious actually creates delays because they're anxious about whatever it is they're going to. Or even the main character, who unconsciously believes that important people are always waited for. It's the same behavior, but three totally different psychological stories.
This idea of reframing is incredibly powerful when we look at isolation. As this chart shows, what we might label on the surface as someone who cuts everyone off is often, in reality, a brain that's just become an expert at recognizing the patterns of abandonment. What one person might dismiss as someone who built walls can be seen instead as someone who created boundaries to keep unsafe people out. And what looks like isolating is often a strategic choice, choosing the quiet absence of rejection over the perceived near certainty of it.
And this is the painful, hidden logic behind it all. People don't push others away because they're cold or heartless. They do it because controlling the exit is a form of self-preservation. It's a tragic strategy for sure, but it's a strategy born from a deep, rational fear of being hurt all over again.
So, where does all of this leave us? Well, it points us toward a really fundamental shift in perspective, moving away from judgment and moving toward curiosity. Now, to be super clear, understanding the psychological reason for a habit doesn't automatically make it okay, especially if it's hurting other people. This isn't about making excuses, but it is a powerful tool. It allows us to look at ourselves and at others with way less judgment and a lot more empathy, to ask why instead of just getting angry.
Here's the most important thing to take away from all this. Your habits, and the habits of everyone around you, they are not random flaws. They are vital clues. They are little signposts pointing directly to your deepest unmet needs. A need for safety, a need for peace in a noisy world, a need for just a small sense of control in a chaotic one.
So I'll leave you with this question. Every single one of your habits is telling a story about what your mind and your body need to feel safe and whole in this world. The only question is, are you listening?